Well, when I was cleaning up my valves in these AFR heads a little while ago, I found something that was a little bit disconcerting. I've mentioned before that this engine only had maybe 60 to 70 runs, and I found some valves that were not very good shape, and actually bad enough. If you look at this, get a close picture of that valve, from what I can tell, is cracked the whole way around there. That head at some point was coming off. And quite honestly, now that I'm seeing this, I'm starting to wonder if that, in the long run, that rod bearing that spun may have been a bit of a mixed blessing, because that, while that caused some damage, was nothing compared to what this valve head coming off at, say, 7,000 RPMs would have been. And these are the valves that AFR supplies. They are the AFR 7255s, made by Car Valve, which, if you do a little bit of research, this particular set of heads was bought in 2006, so this has changed, I think, since then. But these particular valves would have been made, I believe, in India. Yeah, typical. But I'm not sure why this was an issue, why that happened. And I've also got an exhaust valve here with some cracks as well. Let's see, is this one or is it the other one? Must be the other one. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I've got some exhaust valves with some cracking too. I'll spin this around slowly, see if you can see the cracks. It's a little bit tough with the glare, but I think you can see it if I turn this slowly enough. You can kind of see it off to the side there. But yeah, that valve is cracked. Those two valves are cracked. And then this one here, this exhaust valve has this funny bubbling on the back side of it. I don't know what's up with that. You can see it there. It's not like these valves have been overheated. I mean, the way I clean these, I put them in my lathe, fired up to the highest speed, and then I use a fine Scotch-Brite pad on it. And it literally took no time at all. It took all the deposits off, and you can see it's not like these valves have been overheated or anything like that. I mean, they look like they haven't even been used, actually. They're such good shape. You know, the seat isn't pitted, or, you know, say like if this exhaust valve had been overheated, then you would be seeing signs of that somewhere. The seat would be pretty bad shape, or, you know, you would have etching on the face of it, so on and so forth. So this thing hasn't been overheated. I don't know what's going on here. This valve's the same way. Excellent shape. Nothing at all wrong with this valve, other than the big crack in the head about ready to come off. I'm not real happy about this at all. I'm going to call AFR Monday. I just digging around on the internet, and through my own personal experience, when I originally purchased these heads and they had the wrong valve locks on them, I think they'll probably make things right on these three valves, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in the other ones. The other ones look good. I mean, I haven't seen anything else on the other ones that would cause me to think there's any sort of a problem. But at the same time, I have three of them that doggone near failed in 60 to 70 runs. I'm not sure I want to trust all the rest of them. So not sure if anybody has any domestically made valves anymore, as far as domestic forgings and domestically machined, probably not. Maybe Faria, but I looked in their catalog and I couldn't find any that were the same length as what these valves are. If I can help it, I don't want to change the length on them, because if I do that, then I'm going to have to get new length push rods and all that messing around, and probably have to do quite a bit more shimming than I'd rather have to do on my valve springs. But yeah, that's kind of disappointing. And also, when I disassembled all of this, I found a valve lock that was split as well. And we're not talking about, I could see if this was, say, like a super stock spec cam where you've got incredibly high velocities. This camshaft is a Comp Cam's Extreme Energy solid roller cam. I think they call it the XE292 or whatever. 621 intake, 627 lift exhaust, and I can't remember exactly what the 50 thousandths duration is. I think it's like 258 and 262, somewhere in that area. And only turning this thing 6,800 RPMs, maybe 7,000 just a couple times, and found it didn't run any quicker, so 6,800 was my shift point from there on out. Seems to me like this stuff should last longer than what it did. But I just thought I'd show you this, and I'll be calling AFR Monday, and they'll send me some. They're not going to replace all of them, I'm sure, because they're not all junk. But hopefully they'll send me these 3 new ones, and then I'm going to have to make a determination on whether I want to trust all the rest of them. I may just scrap this whole batch of valves and find something else. Of course, that's another expense I really wasn't expecting, but that's engine building. Well, here's the specs on that Comp Cam that I'm using. As you can see, it's certainly nothing radical, and the valve springs, I've actually, after I rechecked the valve springs, I found they were actually in pretty decent shape too, so it's not like I was having any troubles floating the valves, and I had more than enough piston to valve clearance. So don't really know what was going on here, whether that's just plain poor material. Did a little bit of a web search and found some people from around this time, 2007, 2008, 2009, complaining about valves in their AFR heads, and I think they actually at some point went and changed their vendors to some place in Argentina. I don't know if that's still the case or not. This was stuff I was reading from 4 years ago. But yeah, I'm not real happy with them valves. That could have been a major disaster. That would have probably put me totally out of business.